Hello and welcome to my channel Making Crafts. Today I am going to get started on my Touch of Lace journal, and I'm going to be putting the pages together. But before I put the pages together, I've got one small little project that I want to try before I do it and see how it works out so that I could add it as a flap to some of the pages. And so what I've done is I've brought out my Tim Holtz stamping platform, and then I have put a piece of vellum in it. Let me show you. I have cut the vellum down. My pages are 5 1/4 by 7 1/2, roughly that size. So what I've done is I've cut the vellum down to 5 by, and I've left it 8 1/2 because I'm going to fold to add it to the page. So I'm going to fold it some. So I did cut it down the width that I wanted. And so I have a stamp, my favorite stamp that I've showed here before, that I want to add to the vellum. And this is something I haven't tried before. I want to heat emboss it and see what I can come up with and see if it makes a pretty little flap. And so this stamp came from In Love Arts shop, and I found their shop through an Instagram ad, and I honestly have loved their products. This very inexpensive, but everything I've received has been really nice and has worked really well, and the stamps do stamp really well. So I'm just going to line it up here. Since I know that my page is going to be this flap's going to be about 7 inches tall, I'm kind of just trying to decide where I want this flower to be stamped. And then once I stamp it, I'm going to use this scrapbook.com embossing clear ink, and then I am going to use some embossing powder, gold embossing powder, to emboss it. And we'll see how this turns out. So I just want to line my stamp up. And then once I get this done, then I want to start on the pages, putting the pages together for my book, or for my journal. So I'm just going to add this. And I tried to clean this stamp, and hopefully, even if it does have some ink still on it, it's okay, because we're going to use the gold. So it's not, I probably didn't have to use this, but I always forget which one of my inks does well with embossing powder, so it'd be best just to use the embossing powder ink so that I make sure that I use the right one and it does work. So I'm just going to push my chair out and stand up and press this down really hard, because it is a larger stamp, and so I want to make sure that I get it pressed down really good everywhere, because it's going to be really hard to see unless there's ink left on it. Okay, it looks like it got stamped really good. I know you probably can't see, you can barely see it on camera, but it is hard to see. But I think it's good. So now I'm just going to add some of the embossing powder. Just use a piece of paper here to put the powder over. I have 2 different golds. Let me see which one. This one is not as glittery looking as this one. So I want to use the shiny one, the glittery one. Just going to coat it really well so I make sure I get a good coating on everything. There we go. Okay. And because I didn't have any of the powder that they use, oops, I should have used some sort of powder to powder my page first. I've seen that in videos, people using that. I don't have one of those, but I need to research what it is that you can use if you don't have one. There's a string right here. Oops. There we go. I don't know where that's from. If this works out, I think it'd be really pretty on this clear page. Okay, so let's see how this turns out. Just going to use my heat tool on my platform here so that I don't warp my mat. And hopefully this doesn't melt the actual vellum. actually love how that looks. That's looking really good. Just making sure I hadn't missed any spots. Oh wow, that looks kind of like, what do they call that? Oh, I can't think when they gold. It's not gold embossing, but when you use those gold sheets, it kind of looks like that. But gold foiling, yes. Kind of looks like that, but I really love how that turned out. I don't know if you can see it. It looks so pretty. So that's going to make a pretty flap, and so then I'm just going to fold this over, and it'll be a flap over one of the pages. So now I want to try another one. Okay, so I have my paper cut down, and I am going to, I think I'll put a little piece here to hold it, both ends. Okay, and so now I'm going to do the butterfly, and I had this butterfly when I went off camera that I was going to use, but I'm really thinking, I thought about my Bow Bunny set that I absolutely love, but I'm trying to see if either one of these would heat emboss. I think it needs to have thin lines to heat emboss really neatly, and this one has a lot of thin lines, so let me see. I'm going to go with, I'm going to use this one, I think. I think that one would make a pretty one. And what I'll do is I'm going to, that stamp, I mean, I have another one of these. So that stamp was trimmed off a little. I don't know what happened to it. I never pulled that one out apparently out of that pack. I actually have 2 packs because I bought 2 by accident. Because I love butterflies, and I didn't realize I already had this one, I think. Or it may have come in a set. Actually, it may have come in a set. And that's how I wound up with 2, because I bought the butterflies separate, and then I bought a set of these from online, and so I think that they did come in a set. Let's see, I'm thinking of different butterflies though, adding different ones. I don't know how they'll look though. Guess it should be a good test. So I'm just going to scatter them on the page here. Wonder what it would look like to add this one as well. So think the way, just have to remember where the top of the page is going to be, and then that should be cute. We'll try it. It's nothing lost but a piece of vellum, which is no big deal. Okay, so I'm just going to press this down. And I hope I'm not too loud. I'm really close to the camera since I'm standing up. But I want to stand up because I want to give this good pressure. Since it is clear, I'm not going to be able to see it. Oops, it's making a lot of noise bouncing there. Okay. And just press it down as well. Let's see how those did. I'm trying to see. I think I'll ink them one more time. It does look like that one missed part of the butterfly. I may not ink the whole thing good. Try one more time. And that is why I'm using this stamping platform, is because that way I can go back and stamp right back over it and not have to figure out, eyeball it and get, you know, double lines. Okay. Okay, now that's a lot better. That looks beautiful. From what I can see. Oops, don't want those together. Okay. So we'll just go back to our embossing powder. Okay. And now let's add it to our paper. Oops. Almost had a major accident there. have some that's just wanting to stay around. So I'm just going to clean it off. I'm just going to heat emboss it and see what it turns out. That's pretty. I love seeing it when it changes. It's so pretty. Oops, it's very, very hot too. Oops, I was doing it right over this, wasn't I? Let me move that. Put this back over here. It's very hot. I love to see it change. That is so pretty. I think that turned out. I couldn't ask for more. I like it. I love it. Let me clean up this powder and then we'll take a look at it, and then we'll start putting our book pages together. I think we still have time. I don't want to make the video go on too long, but I think we have plenty of time to do our book pages. I'm just going to sweep this off. I see some clinging to it, I think. Just going to sweep it off. There we go. I love that. I love how both of these turned out. So now I'm ready to start decorating them. I'm going to fold them, but I'm going to add a strip of paper on each one so that I don't know how vellum does with being folded and unfolded over and over. So I want to add a piece of paper just to kind of what am I trying to say? Strengthen it. Yeah, strengthen it so that it doesn't tear. So let's just set all this aside, and then we will work on decorating those or adding the paper. So I have some of this paper left over from the kit, and I think that's what I'm going to use, just a piece of this at the top. So I just need to cut it down. So we know that it's 5 inches wide, and then I want to, let's go 5 inches wide, and then I want it to be, I'm trying to think, I want this to be about, let me pull out one of the pages real quick. Just any of the pages. This isn't the page it's going on, but they're all about the same size. So I'm going to want it to be over the page like this, and then I'm just going to fold it. So let's just fold it right there. Okay. I'm not sure which page. I think it may go over one of the daisy pages. I'm not sure yet where I'm going to put it. There we go. So, I think I have some embossing powder on my table here. It's feeling kind of icky, kind of gritty. So then I'm just going to add this at the top to strengthen it. And so I want it to be, let's just measure what that is. Oh, that's 1 inch. Exactly, so I want it to be 2 inches. I want it to be 2 inches. I do believe, so that it will wrap over the page like that. And I do want it to be, I'm going to take and edge punch it. Just punch the edge and see what it looks like. To add it, I haven't made one of these before. I am just making it up as I go along and figure out how I want it as I go along with it. So let's just see here what we come up with. I just had a faint thing in mind that I wanted to do. Okay, so maybe like that. Oh, I like that. Just got to get that little excess off. And then let's stamp the other side. Okay. The stamp is wanting to get hung today. Okay. Sometimes that's what you have to do. I think it had something stuck in it. I'm just going to line it up there. I think you see me, I'm having to, sometimes you have to slam these punches when they get stuck, and now I'm going to have to figure out, what if you can oil them? There's some little something in my punch, and this is one of my favorite edge punches. I don't even know if they make it anymore. I'll have to look and see. Just trying to get some of the, where it got hung, some of the extra. I'll have to take a look at that once I get through filming and see why it could be getting hung up. I have no idea. But that one's getting hung for some reason. So I'm just going to trim off any little ragged edges. I don't think it's the paper because I've used this paper before. This is just 32-pound copy paper. It's not like it's cardstock. You would think it might do that with cardstock, but not with copy paper. Well, not copy paper, excuse me. It's 32-pound premium paper, which is, I kind of think of it as like copy paper. It's just a little thicker than copy paper. So this one, you can see for the one on the front, I did go ahead and make it so that it's equal. I didn't think about that when I was doing the back side, but I don't think it's going to matter on the back. So when I fold it over, though, I'm going to have to trim that off a bit. So I want to trim this top off just a little to make this work now, because I've cut some of it off. I don't want it showing through on the other side. There we go. So now let's fold this in half and see what happens on here. Kind of eyeballing it in half and then doing it like this. Just put it over the top. So we're going to have to make sure we line it up good for the half. It's going to show. Okay, I like that. So if I attach that there, and then I will attach this to the page on here, that would work out perfect. Okay, so I am going to attach that now, just with some of my Barely Art glue. Just going to put some little dots where the punch was so that it still can stick down. I'll just attach it here, line it up, kind of make it even, make sure the edges line up. Okay, and I'm just going to press down. I think that's so pretty. That looks so good. And so then I'll just glue the back as well. Just going to attach glue to the vellum back. I think that'll be very pretty in our journal. So now for the same thing for this one, I just need to fold over about an inch. You just make sure that's going to be the height we want. That's good. There we go. And then I'm just going to trim that off as well. And then I will, I've trimmed a little bit more off that. It doesn't matter though, because we're going to have the paper. So now, let's move this. All of this is in the way. Let's go ahead and get my basket and just brush that down into my scrap basket. Okay, and then lay this one aside. Okay, so for this one, maybe we'll try this little lacy spot on the paper. It's got a little lacy print. I don't know if you can see that. Then I'm going to cut it around 2 inches. Let's do 2 1/4. See what that does. We've got more paper we can always cut if it doesn't work out. And so then we're just going to fold it over. And I'm going to fold this one first because it was really hard to fold it once the edges were punched. So that way, there we go. And now let's try our punch again. Hopefully this time it doesn't get stuck. Trying to see if it had anything like glue or anything in it. I don't see anything. So let's see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to line it up in the center here. Then I'm just going to punch. It's working perfect now. So it just had some little something stuck in it earlier. There's no telling what. There we go. That's perfect. And let's see here. And so what I did, I didn't mention it as I was doing it, but what I did, I wanted the edges, as you can see, so that the edges look the same on each side. So what you want to do is just center your paper, in the center of your punch. When you're going to punch it, you want to center it, line it up in the center to start the first punch. And that way your ends will end up the same, or almost the same anyways. I did just eyeball it, I didn't measure, but if you want it to be exact, you probably need to measure the exact center. And so now we're just going to put this over top here. Oh, and that is pretty. I like that little lacy effect. So add some glue. And see, it got quicker. The first one we were just learning and figuring out how to do it. And as you make these, they are quicker to make. It doesn't take as long. Once I figured out what I wanted to do. Okay. And for the back, I don't know, I said I was gluing it. I want to make sure that I did tell you right. When I glued it, I did leave it, I didn't glue it down because you still want to add it to your page, so you need to leave it like that. Leave your little fold so that you can add it to your page. So I'm just gluing it to I'm just gluing this vellum, just the edge of the flap on the vellum to the paper. I'm not gluing it shut because you're still going to have to attach it to your page somehow. So you want to leave it where it will fold over. You don't want to glue that shut. Just want to make sure I didn't tell you wrong or just didn't tell you when I was doing it. Okay, so that is very pretty. Both of these turned out very pretty. I love them both. And I love how these turned out, and so I'm going to be adding these to the journal, and I'm going to check the time and see how long it has been, and if it's been too long, then we'll just use this as, we'll just stop here and work on the journal tomorrow, and so then we'll get started on putting all the pages together and getting it all put together. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.